Hello again, everyone. Great to see so many familiar faces, great to see so many new faces. Really, really chuffed you could all come. And thank you for making the effort, not just to turn up, but to submit so many great speech proposals. The quality of submissions this year was incredibly high. It was a very, very difficult task. Trying to choose what to include. So thank you all for making the effort and for coming here to present. I think it's a really great problem to have when you're looking at the agenda and you can't choose which panel to go to because they all look so interesting. So I hope you all enjoy them as much as I know I'm going to. So I'm supposed to give you a kind of, I think, brief spiel about some of the work that we've done over the last year. We've had a really interesting year. We've done quite a little bit of research, but we've also had some really nice achievements. We have a few highlights. We've had some research papers published in peer-reviewed academic journals, and we've won an award at an academic conference, which is really, really useful for us. It's not something, these are not papers that normal people on the street that, have lives away from this kind of thing are going to read, but it's really important for us as a research team to have our kind of research validated by the academic community. An awful lot of NGOs will put reports out that quite often, don't seem to be based on sort of really kind of rigorous science and maybe suffer from a little confirmation bias. So it's really nice that our work is being recognized as kind of legitimate and valid in the assumptions that we're making and the conclusions that we're coming to. I'm also delighted that we've expanded our research team by a person, Alex Parsons, who's at the back. Give the nice people a wave, Alex. Alex has joined us as a research associate from last year, and he's doing some really, really cool things with the data that we collect through our sites and with data sets that we can get from elsewhere. So I encourage you to go to the mySociety session tomorrow, where Alex, Jenna, and Gemma will be presenting some of the experiments and research that we've done over the last year in a little bit more detail. We've also broadened our approach, which is quite cool. Obviously, we're really focused on impact. We want to know if this kind of stuff works. But we've also been looking sort of slightly wider at, the instances where, we've had Civic tech that doesn't work for some reason or other. People aren't using it, or it's not actually achieving the outcomes you want. And we've been doing some work right at the beginning of that process, which is looking at the quality, usability, appropriateness of data that's actually being used to build Civic tech. We've been doing a fascinating project with the Open Society Foundations over the last few months, looking at data in the extractives industries, and kind of asking why, even though there's legislation to open up data, it's actually not being used to achieve the kind of outcomes it was intended. So it's really, really nice to be kind of broadening that approach, still very much focusing on data quality, impact, but looking at various different aspects of it. But mostly we've been also keeping a very firm eye on how the world's changing. As Mark said, the world is very different today than when it was when we had this conference in Barcelona last year. And it's not for me to say, whether Brexit or Trump or any of these other things are good or bad. There may be people in this room that think those things are absolutely excellent. But it's for us to kind of see that this is changing the assumptions that we have, the research that we do, the activities that we conduct, the assumptions that we're basing those on are changing. The sand under our feet is shifting, and we kind of have to change with it. We've spoken to a lot of people in the research team this year about various different aspects of politics, policy, civic society, civic engagement, and there's a lot of different things coming out. We hear about fake news all the time. And not just fake news, but the difficulty for people to actually identify what is legitimate information, trustworthy information. One of the projects that we've been doing over the last year with the Joseph Rowntree Foundation is trying to work with younger people under the age of 25 to kind of figure out how they are interacting with information online, how they're engaging with it, how they're using it for participation. And one of the things that has come out really, really strongly is that quite a lot of young people have zero trust in anything online anymore. It's not just, this is a news story, it might be fake news. people aren't, these kind of people aren't even trusting what people are posting on Facebook, or they're not trusting what comes from the BBC. Legitimate news outlets, they can't identify news that has been sort of taken from legitimate academic studies. Young people are having a real issue trying to identify what information to even believe, and because that's taking so much effort, they're just completely disengaging. This is certainly true in the UK. We're seeing young people just sort of saying, I can't figure out what's true and what's not, so I'm just going to assume everything's not true. Which is a real problem, because that makes them fall back on a very sort of small network of opinions and kind of gut instincts, which can kind of lead to kind of a bit of populism coming in when you're not actually being able to inform yourself, you're not being able to use technology or traditional media to form your opinions and enable you to kind of figure out which parties or which policies are good for you. And we're seeing people just using their kind of gut instincts and kind of going with the flow, which isn't particularly good, because this emoji, I look at my Facebook feed, and all of the political stories that people are sharing, this is an emoji that's attached to it. People are angry, They can't identify what's real. They can't figure out what's good for them, so they're kind of reverting to quite lazy assumptions or prejudices. But people are upset at the way the world is. People are talking about it on Facebook. They're voting in ways that are completely unexpected. I'd love to know how many people attach the angry face emoji to what they're posting about if they're talking about politics. Because I think it's quite a lot. A lot of people are angry about Brexit. A lot of people are angry about the prospect that Brexit might not happen. People are really confused and really frustrated at the moment. And while that's not the best thing in the world, I wouldn't want people to be angry all the time. I think actually that it presents an opportunity for us, because we know that civic tech can help people. We know civic tech can make a difference in some areas. People in this room have spent a lot of time and effort proving that in certain circumstances, civic tech can really help. So how, one of the things that I think we should be thinking about today and throughout our work is how we can actually harness the technology that we have. How can we build it better to respond to these kinds of frustrations? Because people want to express themselves. People are expressing themselves all the time. They're just unfortunately using channels that aren't particularly useful. Signing petitions enables people to think they're doing something, but if those petitions don't kind of fit with the sort of political legal structure, nothing's going to happen, and people are actually going to get even more frustrated. And at the end of the day, those frustrations are going to manifest in the ballot box and in protests and in a very unhappy society. So how can we, as civic technologists, as researchers, figure out how we can channel that energy that people have, that people want to express themselves, to enable them to do something positive? And we're creating a bigger evidence base all the time. And again, people here, you are part of that. You're the people in the world that are creating this evidence base. How can we best use that? Because there is a big possibility that funding for our sector could well be minimized over the next few years. Openness and transparency and civic technology, I don't think are priorities necessarily for a lot of the new administrations that we're seeing. Funding from those kind of governments may not be available to us anymore. If we've got a shrinking pool of funding, we really need to prove that what we do works. We really need to prove without a doubt that we can actually help people, that we're relevant in this brave new world that we find ourselves in. So we've got cool opportunities, but we've got big challenges as well. And I kind of hope that that's something that you guys think about over the next couple of days. In terms of mySociety, looking ahead, as Mark was saying, we're highly aware that there are some disengaged groups that we're not reaching, and we really need to. A lot of the research that we do, we can only base our conclusions on the people that are willing to engage with it, and that's fundamentally wrong, because we're only serving a very small community of people in that fashion. So we're really putting effort into not only building and enabling our tools to reach more people, but in terms of researching with them as well. We're looking at using more data sets. we obviously have lots of information that comes through our TICTeC sites, but they tend to only be one piece of the puzzle. So we're hoping to do some even more cool stuff this year, looking at linking different data sets and seeing exactly where issues are. And obviously, as I said, figuring out how political shifts are affecting not just us, but how other people are using TICTeC and what could be useful for them. So we've still got a long way to go. TICTeC is only 3 years old. It feels like we've been doing it forever, but it's still. It gets better every year. But it's still only 3 years old. Our research department is still only 3 years old, so we're still in our infancy. We've got so much more work to do, and I'm really excited about doing it, and I hope you guys are too. If you ever have something that potentially you want to collaborate on, please let us know, because we're always open to new ideas. But otherwise, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I really hope you enjoy TICTeC in Florence. I hope the weather holds for the drinks reception. And I hope you have a great time. And that's it for me. Thank you.